We're ready whenever you guys are.
We are. Good afternoon. It's May the 20th, 2025. Welcome to the City of Punta Gorda Zoning and Planning Board meeting. Have a roll call, please.
Yes. Tony Gray. Here.
Harvey Goldberg,
Here.
Patrice Petrick,
Here.
Robert Seifert,
Here.
James Wilton, John Reinders,
Here.
Charles Lewis.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The only announcement I have is just to let board members know that in the past, we have had to fill out annually a statement of financial interest. This year, they're doing it electronically. And if you haven't already gotten it in the email, you will get it. And it's instructions that go right through the form. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
I haven't done it yet, but I got it to look through it. As a matter of fact, Sarah Welch, the city clerk, is supposed to be sending it out as a reminder to everybody. But we've got until July,
Right, July 1st, I think.
July
it says.
1st
Yeah.
to fill it out. But just, when you get something from the Commission on Ethics, you know, it raises your eyebrow. So that's where it comes from. Okay. The next meeting of Zoning and Planning Board is on, just have to check in my calendar, unless someone remembers automatically. It's June the 23rd, Monday, June the 23rd. Okay. If for some reason you may not be able to make that meeting, please let the city clerk know. Okay. If anyone in here representing the public would like to make comments to the board, please step forward, introduce yourself, your name and where you live, and you have 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll move right on to the agenda. We have no legislative or quasi-judicial hearings. We do have a general business item of the Charlotte County Punta Gorda Metropolitan Planning Organization, the Safe Streets and Roads for All, Grant SS 4A, and the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, Grant CSAP. And this is our presenter.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Rick Lemkool, Grants Coordinator for Urban Design. And so I'll be presenting a brief update of what this Comprehensive Safety Action Plan is and why it's important for the city to adopt. So this Comprehensive Safety Action Plan was
While they're getting that set up, we want to approve the minutes of the March 24th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board. Are there any additions, changes, or corrections that you see?
I have a question of Rachel,
Okay.
because I want to know what the city did. Our suggestion.
okay. There we go. Thanks.
Rachel, can I ask you a question? When, we approved this change last, the land development regulations, and we had some conditions on there, but I didn't attend that meeting, and I'd like to know how it went. Did they go with what we suggested or not?
They did. The changes that were made, that were just adopted by City Council, they included all of the recommendations from Planning and Zoning.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good to know.
Anything else?
No.
Good question. In that case, all in favor of approving the minutes of the March 24th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board, please indicate by saying aye.
There
Aye.
wasn't a motion.
Oh. I move we approve the minutes.
second.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, you're right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The minutes are approved unanimously.
Oh, right.
Now we'll move on.
Now
Yes,
we're
sir.
back. So apologies for the inconvenience there. So this comprehensive safety action plan is produced through the Safe Streets for All campaign through the Department of Transportation and the federal government. And so this Safe Streets for All, or this safety action plan has a target of 0 fatalities and 0 serious injuries by 2045. It's a lofty goal that is set by the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is our transportation organization here locally. And in order for us to actually pursue Safe Streets for All grants or Department of Transportation grants, which are federal, we need to have the council duly adopt this plan, and then we can pursue federal grants in the short term. And that's what we're doing right now. We're going after a Safe Streets for All grant for pedestrian crosswalks and audible signals in the city at the signalized crosswalks.
And I appreciate Rachel sending out that note of clarification on the purpose of today's discussion.
So this is for information only, and then we're going to go off and hopefully set up a recommendation that the city council adopt this on June 4th. So the key takeaways, basically we've got the call to action, which is 0 fatalities and 0 serious injuries by 2045. Then we've got crash trends in the high injury network. We've got 4 little nodes of traffic of the 14 high injury roads in this county. We've got 4 of them, and we'll go over that. And then we've got some countermeasures to identify that we'll be able to mitigate those losses. So here's the commitment for 0 fatalities by 2045. Between 2016 and 2020, we had 132 fatalities across the county, and basically that amounted to about 10 here locally in the city. Fatality rate exceeds the national average, and so that's due to our demographics here and due to probably also the snowbird population coming in and out. So our traffic problem is actually pretty intense when it comes to pedestrians and bicyclists. So as I mentioned earlier, the MPO received Safe Streets for All funding for the safety action plan. They hired a consultant. The consultant wrote the plan, and we're going to go over it real quick. So we're going to go over the high injury network next. But when we're talking about the high injury network, what we're really interested in is the serious injuries and the fatalities. And a fatality, when it comes to Department of Transportation and serious injuries, is any fatality within 30 days of that accident. So if that fatality occurs within 30 days, it's considered, it's tied to that accident. And those accidents are going to be called KSIs. So Charlotte County crash trend overview over the last basically 6 years, between 18 and 22, on average 28 people were killed every year. And then in 2023, we had a total of 34 people killed across the county. What's to note here is that the injuries, the serious injuries and deaths, are actually increasing since 2019. And then here's another overview of crashes. When you get into the serious injury, when we get into the serious injuries and fatalities, what we'll notice is that there's a higher potential, a higher percentage of a chance that people are going to die from the motorcycles, or the bicycles, and the pedestrians are going to die also. And that's what you see in this trend right here. And what we're really interested in, like I said, was the serious injuries and the fatalities. So now we're in the high injury network corridor, in the city of Punta Gorda. We've got 4 areas that we're talking about. On this graph, though, we're only showing 3, and that's because Tamiami Trail is northbound and southbound, and what we're interested in is West Retta to Airport Road, and then also the segment from West Retta to Carmelita. So that's broke out into 2 different segments. And so when you look at the map, you'll see over Punta Gorda, a yellow area and a blue area. Those are the high incident network, high injury network. Yellow is for local, blue is for the entire county. And across the county, we ended up with 14 different nodes that were high injury networks. And like I mentioned, we ended up with 4 in the city. So when we take a look at our capital improvement projects, scroll down on this chart, what we are trying to do to mitigate this high injury network, one in particular is on Cooper Street. And so down there at the very bottom, the second to the last, it says FDOT WP TIP, and that's Cooper Street. What we're trying to do is do something called Safe Streets for, not Safe Streets for All, but we're trying to do a complete streets project with a bike path, a trail, and sidewalks that are improved so that we can mitigate, or that we can help the pedestrians and the bicyclists on the side of that road. When you go to the north end of Cooper Street, we actually end up with our high injury network between West Olympia and Burland. And that's the north end of Cooper Street. But that CIP project is ongoing right now, and I don't know when they're going to be able to complete it, but I believe it's like 2027.
I think that intersection of Cooper Street and Mary is right by the
hospital.
well, no, by the youth center.
By the youth center, yeah. That's in that corridor.
That's Cooper.
And we're going to show it.
Cooper and Mary, yeah.
We're going to show it here in a second. So when we,
Five Corners is there too, right? What do you call it, Five Corners?
I've never heard that term.
That's right there where the smokehouse is.
Okay. I really have not. I'll write it down. But what was the other intersection between that?
So it's where the cell tower is.
The cell tower.
It's in between the cell tower and the smokehouse.
Okay. I'll look up the Five Corners. Do you know of anything called Five Corners?
Is that Taylor?
Taylor. Yes, I'm sorry, it's Taylor.
Taylor and Cooper.
No.
No,
No.
Taylor.
Okay.
Taylor and Carmelita, maybe?
Taylor and Carmelita.
I think so.
I don't know where this find from.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of engineering countermeasures that we've got that we can mitigate these serious injuries. Number one is speed. Speed kills, and so what we're able to do is manage speed limits and manage lane narrowing and roadway departures. So if somebody's, departing the roadway, you have rumble strips, but you also have wider white lines that you can use. These are engineered countermeasures. They're going to talk about this tomorrow at City Council in something called the traffic calming discussion.
Right.
I got a question for you on that.
Sure.
I live right on Marion, so I don't know how you're going to put a median and landscaping unless you take away the grass area between the sidewalk and Marion. I don't know how you could do that. And they talked about it from Harvey to I think to Justine. How could you possibly do that? I mean, it's a two-way road. I mean, you could narrow it, maybe put a bike path in there, but they talk about landscaping and a median and
Yeah, to make it narrower.
yeah. They just said that's what they're going to do in Marion. They recommended that for Marion, and I just thought, oh, I wonder how they're going to do that.
My understanding on that is that the median is not down in the roadway. It's between the curbside and the sidewalk and the grassed-in right-of-way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the only way they could do it,
Right.
Because it's one way, and it's 2 lanes, and
Right.
there's only a white stripe in the middle,
Right.
Anyhow, it's just a question. So
And we'll talk about that segment too here in a brief second. So other engineering countermeasures, there's 4 more. The one that we're not going to talk about too much is bicycle facilities. We can do stuff with bikes inside of the roads and bike lanes. The one that we're most interested in is pedestrian facilities with these rectangular beacons, or these rapid flashing beacons and these pedestrian beacons. What we're interested in right now for this grant is called an audible pedestrian beacon, and it's for visually impaired folks. And anybody, it also applies to people that are just inattentive when they're walking or biking. And so these make audible noises, and it tells you to walk or don't walk. And so what we're interested in is that in all of the 20 signalized intersections. And so more intersections, more roadways. And so what we can do is engineer these roadways, engineer these intersections. And once again, this grant applies to this right here. And then this grant also applies to signals and signs that can be engineered exclusively for pedestrians and bikes. And so here's our first corridor inside of Punta Gorda. It's from Retta Esplanade to Carmelita Street. Notice the two crashes on the motorcycles coming off the bridge, and then or towards the bridge, and one fatality. And then so these improvements are things that are attainable by 2020, 2030 and 2040. Moving on to the next corridor is Cooper from Olympia to Berlin Street. This is different though, because this is more of our walkable neighborhood right here. And this is part of that complete street project that we're trying to go. This is the north end of the complete street project. And notice that 2 pedestrians have been killed and 1 bicyclist in this segment. And then we move on to Marion Avenue, which we were talking about just a second ago, between Henry and Chastine. And once again, this is that high injury network countywide, where we had 1 fatality on a motorcycle and another serious injury in a car accident. I believe is this part of the discussion for the traffic calming? No. All right. And then we finally wrap up with Tamiami Trail between Retta and Airport Road. A lot more accidents here, but when we take a look at this corridor between Retta Esplanade and Carmelita, those are where the majority of the signals are downtown. We've got 10 signals in that area that we definitely like to address with this grant.
And it's soon to be roundabout.
And a soon to be roundabout.
Where?
Right there at Carmelita.
Carmelita.
By the Chase Bank,
Yes.
All right.
or quasi roundabout, is
Any questions? That wraps it up for me.
it? Oh,
The way this will work is to do these things, you're gonna need money, and to get money, you have to adopt this plan, and so then you apply for the grant, and you do it, or
Yeah.
do you do it and then have to apply for the grant?
So the city has to adopt this plan right here
Yeah,
on June 4th, and then that'll become part of my grant application for this Safe Streets for All grant. And then I'll present the grant to the DOT by June 26th.
oh, cool.
So I've already started writing the grant. I'm about 85% done. This is integral to the grant, that the city adopts it.
Do you have to identify what you're gonna do first, or anything, you just ask for the money?
Just adopt it and then ask for the money.
Okay.
You have to have a plan, it has to all come together. You have to have a narrative. You have to have partnerships with FDOT. You have to have partnerships with some of the nonprofits. You have to have a partnership with the MPO. And then you have to have buy-in with the city council saying that this is something that they adopt. And the thing that they're adopting here is that 0 serious injuries and 0 fatalities by 2045.
Thank you.
Has FDOT indicated that they are planning and able to fund all this work?
No, they're not able, they have not identified the match, and so neither has the city yet. So that's next.
Charles, go ahead.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
I read the document And even after this Punta Gorda signs on to do it, there is no ability for Punta Gorda to opt out of it if they don't get the grants. So where's that trigger mechanism?
I don't believe you opt out of it. I think you just adopt the plan just like any other plan that you do. This doesn't really have a whole lot of legs other than, or teeth, other than saying that you, okay.
No, I'm surprised I read the whole thing. I haven't read this much since I graduated college.
I think most of their recommendations, aren't they? Their recommendations to the
Yeah, but
city
there were
not-
some triggers that were in there, but there wasn't an ability for Punta Gorda to opt out of the plan if we couldn't get grant money. So I think that's an important consideration if we're going to recommend the city council do this, that we have a way to protect ourselves.
I see this as a contingency,
Yes,
one dependent on the other.
Exactly.
So,
but there's no language in what we're going to
Well,
propose to
if
the
it-
council.
I would say that if we don't win the grant this year, there's going to be another Safe Streets for All grant next year. This is an ongoing grant cycle, grant program with the Department of Transportation.
I understand that.
So if we don't win it this year, we go with, take the same duly adopted resolution and we go for it again. Because this is a 80-20 grant program that we have for our roads and our intersections here.
Charles, excuse me, I don't think there's any contractual obligation for the city to complete these. These are the federal government saying, this study that they hired this California company to do, this is what we recommend you do. And if you, and the feds are saying, if you want us to pay for it, you have to adopt this. It doesn't say you have to do it. It's a recommendation by the third party that they hired.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
there's no requirement that the county
Or the city.
write every single one of these actions and actually perform. It's just
All right,
ideas.
okay, I get the concept, but it doesn't say that anywhere in the 195
I'm just saying their
page
recommendations, they don't say you have to do it either, you know?
Yeah, that's a lot of CIP.
document. Well, they say you have to sign on if you want to get the money and get the grant.
I think his plan will identify what we plan on doing with the money, am I correct?
Right.
If you get the money. So then you will be obligated to complete those. If you
Yeah,
have
if we get the grant for this project right here in particular, we're obligated, after we go into agreement, to complete this project for audible pedestrian signals only.
All right, and after we get the grant and we do the project, then there's a maintenance phase that Punta Gorda has to enter into. Who takes care of that?
That would be us, us
be the
or
city and the county.
the city and the county, the city and FDOT.
We haven't fared too well with the county, have we?
They got their own problems.
Yeah,
in here.
I don't know, I just
This folds into a
I
much,
just think we're always left holding the bag.
I don't think so.
I don't see it that way. This is going to be folded into a much bigger picture with the city's strategic plans and the long-range plan, both financial and structural.
I see what happened to AC Freeman House. I see what happened to some of the other stuff. It just didn't seem like we're looking past the initial purchase or the initial investment and what it's going to cost us 10 years from now.
I don't know
I don't
anything
see
about
that
the,
there either.
I don't know anything about the technology.
I mean, are
yet.
there grants that go into that say, you know, you're going to get reconditioning efforts in 5 years, or
Typically, no.
typically no? Okay.
Typically, no. What you get is the grant for the equipment or the one-time offer, and then you're going to have to build in your maintenance costs for that. So the free money is never exactly free, but it's close to it.
There you go.
80%. 80% is what this grant ask is for,
Yeah.
which
So it's
is
an 80,
pretty
you said
good.
it's 80-20.
80-20.
Okay. So the city has
Yeah, it's
to
gonna
build
be-
into their financial plans.
That's
And
correct.
this is a capital
20%
project. This is
as well as the maintenance cost.
so this particular project is actually on our capital improvement plan
Yeah.
as unfunded. And so this would be the way that we pursue that unfunded project. And this is the only way that I see of pursuing this project at the moment.
Rick, do you see anything that we might do under the initial grant that might cause additional costs? I think that's a
No.
good question.
I don't have so Public Works is working on the actual estimate right now for me.
Okay.
And so I don't know what costs would be, and anyhow, after you get the estimate, that's all it is an estimate. You
Sure.
go into the grant agreement and the grant application, you win the grant, then you actually have to go to procurement. When you go to procurement, that's when all the details
That's
fall
all,
out.
okay.
What is the grant cycle? Like, what point in time is the application cut off and the decision made relative to funding?
So this application is due June 26th. And so that's the reason why I've got this agenda item going before the board on June 4th, so that they can adopt it and we can move forward with the application.
And which, would it be the 2025 or 26 fiscal budget?
It'll be a 26 budget.
Okay.
It'll be after 26 because the results for this probably won't even come out until October. And then so we've got this, I believe, dialed in for 27 under the CIP, I believe. The CIP budget workshop is on the 22nd, so we'll have a little bit more of a discussion on that there, potentially. I don't know if they want to talk about the unfunded. I know that they're going to focus in on the funded CIP first, and then maybe unfunded would be relegated to a very small discussion.
Right.
Any other questions?
Oh, no, I got a couple more.
Okay.
So you had a injury increase in those areas that you showed on the chart.
Okay. And that was from 19 until now, correct? Right there?
Yeah. So coincidentally, what was the population increase? And that seemed
I don't know what the
Thompson.
population was in 19, but in
it's
20,
about the same.
it's about the same?
Mhm.
Okay.
So more people, more accidents. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So your point is,
My point is that he brought it out to say that the injury increase on a specific year was relatively high. But it's also the same year that we had populations increases that matched percentage-wise the number of increase from injury from the previous year.
Probably true.
and your point is,
My point is, I don't think that safety controls are going to help based on a number that would be 3 years behind. And it's a California company. I mean, did they come out here? Have they spent in August in Florida?
I would imagine they'd,
I mean, seriously, I mean, I can't.
that's a rhetorical question.
I know.
Not if they could help it.
Answer.
So they did this last year and they completed it in December and they presented to the county in December, which included Janine Polk, who's on the NPO board. So this has been presented. They spent close to a year on this. I don't know exactly when they entered into agreement, but some of this is probably COVID and season where you've got seasonals that have stayed extra time. And then also when it comes to the injuries exceeding the national average, that's due to our demographics. Like I think what ends up happening out west in these country roads is they're higher injuries and deaths because the hospital is further away. And so I think there's higher injuries and death here because our demographic is older. I don't know. Nothing was put in there that says that.
I think, you know, when you want to cite a specific incident with numbers, I think you should back it up with all the facts.
Anything else, Charles?
No, I'm done.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments or questions? in that case, what is being asked of us was to recommend or not recommend we go forward with this plan. So you can use the same verbiage that's in the council, in the committee package about whether or not you're going to, based on the evidence and testimony presented.
I'll make a motion that on the evidence and testimony presented at this public hearing for item number,
There isn't one.
there is none, okay, for non-item number, I find that the request is consistent with the City of Punta Gorda Comp Plan and move that we recommend the City Council approve with no conditions.
Yeah, it's the CSAP,
Yeah, whatever it was. I don't know.
approving CSAP, right?
Yeah, the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan.
Right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed indicate by saying nay.
Nay.
Okay. And the vote is
4-1.
4-1 in favor of recommending the adoption to the City Council. Okay. Thank you very much. Nothing else on our agenda? Any comments from staff?
No.
Member comments. Start down with Charles.
I just felt like there should have been an out for Punta Gorda to be able to opt out of a program or a grant because of non-funding, and I think it should be in writing.
Okay. I think the secretary has that duly noted.
What was that?
You have his objection duly noted, please?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Okay. Ron, good.
I'm good.
Good, yeah. I have no further comments. In that case, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for attending.